We're keeping track of a couple tropical cyclones, a little severe weather for the northern plains, but also the monthly La Niña update. We are still under a La Niña watch for this winter. So the potential for some severe weather today in the northern plains. It's been pretty quiet for the most part, but slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for eastern North Dakota into northwestern Minnesota. Tiny tornado threat, but mostly we're looking at some large hail and some wind. We've got some modest instability or CAPE values in northwestern Minnesota later today, and also some modest shear. So storms that develop later today could become severe. We already had one severe thunderstorm warning early this morning with some elevated convection. That'll largely fizzle out, but then we'll look for activity to refire here. Now, the high-resolution rapid refresh model is a little further north, almost into Manitoba, but other models a little farther south. So that eastern half of North Dakota into northwest Minnesota could have a few severe storms later today. We're also watching the tropical Atlantic, the remnants of Gordon, but also the potential of a tropical cyclone that could become Helene later today. It's tropical cyclone 8 right now. It's pretty close to shore, so whether it can actually get to tropical storm strength just in time before it reaches landfall is a bit of a question. Gordon's going to stay out at sea and become a tropical depression and just kind of fizzle away from memory. But Helene is going to create some flooding potential, quite a bit of rainfall here for inland parts of South and North Carolina here over the next couple of days, slowly moving through. And we could have a severe weather threat too with that system as it sort of meanders there in the southeast. But we are looking at the potential for several inches of rainfall, especially northeastern South Carolina into southwestern parts or southern parts of North Carolina. But it is time for the monthly La Niña, El Niño watch. Of course, we are heading into a La Niña phase, likely later this fall into the winter. We are under that La Niña watch. Of course, we had a strong El Niño last winter, and then abruptly conditions changed. Now, the forecast is for a weak La Niña, and the question is, in a weak La Niña, what will the impacts be on the U.S. winter pattern? A strong one tends to have a stronger signal, but when it's weaker, maybe the impacts won't be quite as great or as expected. But we definitely saw a shift here right around February, warm waters and then a big drop in the heat content there in the eastern tropical Pacific. So this is the area we watch, the central and eastern parts of the tropical Pacific. And waters are cooler than normal, but it's got to stay cooler than normal to a certain degree for a certain period of time to be officially a La Niña. And most of the models do have us in that phase here through the winter months, but it's probably going to be a brief La Niña, mainly just over the winter months. Most of the models do that, and then we start to warm back towards normal temperatures again. So these are probabilistic forecasts, and you can see the 50% or likelihood is mostly in the October, November, December period through January, February, March. So just really during the winter pattern. Now this is a typical La Niña setup. For a reminder, from the northern plains through central and western Canada and Alaska, typically cooler than normal, and then drier than normal in the south. So the opposite of what we expect in El Nino. Normally the south is wet. We saw that last year, and the north is warm. So kind of switching roles here. Now because it's a weaker La Niña, Climate Prediction Center's forecast really kind of showing that here, that mainly just North Dakota, Montana into the Pacific Northwest, cooler than normal temperatures, and that wetter than normal signal though, maybe for portions of Minnesota through the Great Lakes in the Northeast. So this could be a snowy or stormy winter potentially if that pans out for parts of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, since we'll see closer to normal temperatures or slightly below. So that's the thing. Those are the things we're watching here for the next couple of days and longer term into the winter.